Cool. Go on. Recording. Yep.
Like to call the meeting to order. Right, join me through the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. And if you could just remain standing just for 1 second, I'd like to have a moment of silence for the people in Israel and around the world in the midst of the violence that's going on. Thank you. We have a lot of items on the agenda. It's going in the first one is an application by 145 Main Street, Dalton Block for special exception. And Mr. Burns is here with us, so why don't you just briefly tell us what it is we're looking for?
Okay, good evening, everybody. What I'm looking for this evening is in the building at 145 Main Street on the second floor. There's presently attic space. It was never developed, and I'm looking to develop that now and turn that into a two-bedroom apartment, which would be up on the second floor of the building. Okay. That's what it is.
That's a beautiful location, looking out over Main Street and the Village Green.
Well, I think it'll be really nice, and I think part of what we've been trying to do as a community is have more housing in the quote downtown area and have more apartments upstairs, which I think will bring more of a local community into West Hampton Beach and facilitate more businesses and restaurants and everything else. So I think it's a good thing. It's part of what we've been planning on doing.
There's also steps that we need to have a price point that people can afford, that most people can afford.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
right.
biggest thing.
It's
A lot of people can't afford to be here because they can't afford the rent, they can't afford this. So if we can generate something that can help the local people, workers to survive and stay here, that's important.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think if we can get some of these apartments rented on a yearly basis rather than these short-term, summer things, I think it'll help a lot, because then you'll bring in, you'll have more workforce housing, you'll have more housing available.
Well, we need workers in the community. It's here to place that to help one aside if they can't get people to come work.
And those are the people that'll support local businesses too, especially on foot. Living downtown, you've got everything right there downtown, so.
That's right. And to make it more of a year-round, we've all been trying to make this more year-round rather than seasonal, and I think we've come a long way. I mean, a tremendous way with that. It's really much more vibrant. I think having more housing available on the main street in the area, I think it'll help that process also. Having, we're now the place that everybody's talking about. People are, instead of us going out east, they're coming to us. And I think that the next step is to help that process along by having more apartments in the village, having, more people available to work in the restaurants and businesses, and people staying all year long and wanting to be here.
I think that, well, I know that was certainly the goal of us installing the sewers, not only cleaning water, but also allowing those apartments to have the stores to be rented. So thank you for converting your space and connecting to the sewer. So what's the status? Have you put an application into the planning board already?
Yes, correct. I put an application into the planning board, and then I had approval from the zoning board of appeals, and I think that and I've already put in an application with the health department. I spoke to them today, they're working on that. So I think that this is, one of the last steps if I can get your approval and exception, then it'll be a big step to move that process forward.
Okay, great. Does anybody have any questions about the apartment application?
What's the element of special exception?
1 or 2 bedroom apartments over commercial buildings is a use within our village. It's always a special exception use.
It always is.
And now with the sewer downtown, that density factor is no longer a problem. So, should be able to get that approval with the sewer connection.
So it is a permitted use subject to special exception
Correct.
approval.
Once he gets the special exception from this board, then the planning board can act and give approval.
Yeah, I think under the code, it's always been allowed. It's just you needed to get a special exception, which is what I'm applying for now. And then there were certain conditions in the code, and I think we met all of them.
But you said your conditions from the ZBA too, that you gotta meet.
Yes, I went to the ZBA and I've gotten approval from them, correct.
All right, well, we won't be acting on it tonight, but we'll wait for the November 2nd meeting, and if, you know, if we have any questions before then, we'll let you know, but
Yeah.
it seems like everybody's comfortable with,
That's
we'll
what I'll be-
put a resolution on. Okay, thank you, Barry.
Thanks.
Right, a hearing, there has to be the public hearing, but we put the notice in the paper for that, and so we'll just go forward, see if the committee has any concerns or questions. All right, the second item is an application to get a special exception for outdoor music at 104 Main Street. Larry Whitberger, hi, Larry Whitberger. Would you like to tell us about your application?
Sure. So, about 4 or 5 months ago during the summer, I pulled up to the building and there was a beautiful trio of high school kids, maybe college, and they were playing music and they had their violin case open right in front of the bench of my building. And I said, "That's wonderful. It was great. It sounded nice." They were playing a clarinet, a bass player, a trombone. And I said, "That's nice. You guys have a permit or anything?" And, well, just setting up, just go play some music. And people loved it. And I said, that would be nice to have more often, but maybe do it legally. So here I am.
I know you purchased those 3 buildings along Glover's Lane, right? And
104 Main, 1 and 3.
thank you for taking the time to make them look beautiful. You've really done some nice landscaping around both sides of the buildings.
Yeah, I take a lot of pride in that.
It shows. But it's interesting because I don't think we've ever had an outdoor music application for a property that's not a restaurant.
That's the thing. It's not motivated, it's not financially motivated. I'm not selling anything. And I sort of miss the music that the bakery used to have on its porch more often, but I'm not looking for that late night stuff either. And I just, I support the arts in a big way, very involved in the arts. And I think it would be nice to make it available to have a busker, singer-songwriters play there on the afternoons, on a Saturday, Sunday, or whatever, and have people enjoy it as they're walking by.
But it's hard to tell from the picture that you submitted exactly where on the property that the music could be. You're not suggesting on the public sidewalk.
No, my property is identified in the drawing there. It goes way past the edge. It goes almost halfway out into the sidewalk. But we'd keep it more on the lawn area.
What to go, I see that you have down there brick patio, put in a patio?
I don't know if it's necessary. Right now we have grass.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah, pavers down maybe, but I don't really think it's gonna be necessary.
Yeah.
There's a few benches that I showed there, a few benches so people could sit. I don't know if the people would sit on the benches or the people playing the guitars would sit on the benches. But that area, that general area on the side.
Something, I'm just trying to visualize it. Something in front of that, it's kind of blocking that little section there.
I have some grassy
Yeah.
bushes now,
Bushes.
and there's a bench there that's also on my property. That area, we'd probably turn the bench, maybe turn the other way, or maybe remove it.
Open it up just a little
Open
bit.
it up and just
Still be,
create a little area over there that people can sit on the lawn.
I don't have a problem with it, I'm just trying to get
Yeah.
everything, you know,
You can either sit on the lawn, I have a very long lawn.
Yeah. that goes all the way to the back.
Yeah. So that general area on the side, would be nice to have and I know it's different, it's like, everybody's, okay, get your arms around it, but it would be nice to have a nice afternoon, Saturday afternoon, have a little trio there, or have some college kids, or some good performers, even if the age doesn't matter. Just be sweet, I enjoy music. I love to, I used to always sit out, have music on the patio. I used to bring a chair and sit down and relax and enjoy it. And I just think that just brings a nice ambiance.
Are you thinking more acoustic music?
I'm thinking probably be acoustic, but I don't want to be restricted. If it was, amplified, it wouldn't be loud. It'll likely. Yeah.
You've got tenants that live upstairs.
But we wouldn't do anything late night. It wouldn't be anything like that. And,
Two
5
speakers.
to 9.
no,
Don't take the guys speakers.
all, but all in consideration of making it something that people would enjoy. Wouldn't that be a nuisance? I think be smart about it.
And excitement to go and get something else. people to do.
Yeah, just visualize a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, you're walking by and you got a nice group of kids or college kids or adults playing some, some nice folk music or something like that, pretty sweet.
With the pack up the road, there are people, they can't afford to go there and do that, so they might listen to that, it's more enjoyable.
And I won't be selling anything, I won't be selling any liquor, I won't be selling anything, just enjoy my music as you're passing by.
So you're not saying come in from Glover's Lane, you're saying you're gonna remove some of the plantings that you just put in so you can see it from Main Street?
Down, probably trim them down, and just leave it so that people can access it. Maybe a little open.
Yeah, make it a little awkward.
That's the village bench though, that's right over there, right? That's a village
It's actually a
bench.
village bench on my property.
Well,
Which is
not
good.
the new one for it.
Leave it there, you can just turn it.
Bench doesn't bother me or anything like that. And I wind up watering plants there and the dogs get drinks and it stops by. I'm usually out there on a lot of days just watering the lawn.
We still need to revisit that talk about signage right next to that at the entrance to the park that says, bathrooms this way, Chamber of Commerce, Glover's Park.
We did start putting something in,
Yeah,
but this was just a temporary to get something done.
yeah, we had talked about getting a design of like a trellis that says that and directs people. But I like that this is in that spot because it adds some activity to
Shows people the center of town. It's a nice little.
That's a good idea.
Yes, we spoke about this briefly, and I thought originally we were talking about on the Glover side where there was an existing asphalt pad. So if you were to want to do the brick patio on the west side of the southerly building, we have to do something with the planning board, waiver of site plan or something to put a patio there and cut vegetation down or not.
Well, there's only sod there now. The vegetation is only just a small border in the front, so there's more than just sod behind that.
And any vegetation on a commercial site plan, it could have been there for a reason, buffer, what have you, so if it's just, a trio on the lawn, we probably don't have to do anything, it's just this board. But if you're gonna make any sort of improvements or remove vegetation, it's a quickie waiver of site plan. It's
I would do that because I'd like to be able to, if I'm gonna do it, maybe it would feel better if it had a little paper or something like that down the floor.
Well, if the board doesn't have any other questions or concerns, we put that down for the November meeting also, and we could always approve it if the board desires to do that, subject to the planning board's waiver of site plan.
Might see some other outdoor seating with this group, but patio itself has to get approved for the planning board first, so it's very similar
Okay,
to this.
so should I really think through doing the patio or we're not calling it a patio, just leaving it sod? I think it would be nicer if I did put a little something down on the ground.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. We just have to square it with your approved site plan that's on record, which is not that old, so we wanna keep that up to date.
Very good, thank you for coming in. Our third item on the agenda is another special exception application for outdoor tables, music and sales at 112. See, we have a couple of people here. Why don't you tell us about your application?
We're looking to put a couple of picnic tables in the back, and a couple of higher type, stand-up type tables in the back as well as the outdoor sale, self-service cooler for oysters in the front. As music, once in a while, we're only open on Saturdays. Once in a while, we might have some music in the back where those tables are.
So can you tell us where all the details, you did appear before the planning board or,
We did.
and what kind of approval did you get from?
We have a site plan approval. We're working on our wastewater management right now with Nick Vero.
Oh, so you're waiting to hear from the county.
We're working with a wastewater management plan for a permit, correct?
But that doesn't have anything to do with the outdoor display, what are we calling it?
Self-service cooler.
Outdoor
Yeah,
outdoor sales. That's really what that is with the container.
Correct, they don't need the finalize the conversion to a market with food for the outdoor sales display. Because that's, they already have a permanent CO for that, for the use inside the building. So the outdoor display has to come through this board for outdoor sales.
Other things associated with it, like I don't know, the DEC has to approve the oyster sales, or do you need like little
We have
tickets or something?
certifications from the DEC as a Class B shellfish permit for shucking and for selling and wholesale of oysters, clams, scallops.
And so you have all, that's probably all right.
You said that's wholesale?
Can wholesale,
Oh, you
can
can-
wholesale,
you-
retail,
Okay,
Yeah.
you just said wholesale, and I got me,
ship them out like, yeah.
Yeah. because this is retail, it's not wholesale, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
The wholesale too.
Huh?
Wholesale also.
Yeah, wholesale, whatever. Yeah. But we're, make sure the retail is in there.
Oh, did you get my letter about on the October 4th?
Yeah, it looks like in response to your application, it's a two-part application. So one's for the outdoor sale displays, the oysters in the container, but the other is for outdoor seating and outdoor music. And
I can summarize, you should have sent a copy of that. Apologies, I didn't get your copy. So a couple of things, there's.
Sent it by email, so check your email. Unless you don't get email.
Kind of went away the facts.
I'll summarize. The outdoor seating is kind of tied to the food situation, so we really need to get that permit done, which is kind of waiting on.
Yeah.
Sure. I think Nick came in today.
Therapy oyster email.
Thank you.
This board specifically with that outdoor seating, even though it's waiting on that, they can approve shades and sales and such, and you have that. So my recommendation was take some pictures of that part of this application when this board can approve it, because then it's the seating with the shades, and then we'll be good in the back. The other issue is the music. This is the HC zoning district, and it's not the B1 specifically, where our outdoor music, it's just the B1. So it might be B2 and B3, excuse me, but it was expressly not permitted in the HC, so that's a challenge with the code.
So the outdoor, how do we define that? We're talking about outdoor music, right? So it means they're set up outside playing music. What about indoors? Where does that lie?
That's an entertainment permit. It's a different chapter. I think.
Is that per event? The
that's
entertainment?
I think that's only for restaurants, because I know, one of the places that's a luncheonette wanted it, we weren't able to allow it. It had to be a restaurant.
There's not really space inside there for inside entertainment.
Yeah, I'm not
It's
too
big.
familiar with it, but I know the main building. Been in, but I don't know what the setup is there. You have the garage.
We have a harmonica player.
So entertainment
My
permits.
Yeah, but we figured we'd put in for it anyway. We're just trying to create something really fun and different for the town and a place where people can go. I think, our main goal is to build something really special for West Hampton and a reason for people to come here as a destination, and then maybe they can go to other places in town and support other businesses as well. It's pretty unique that our town's able to have an oyster bar and have Bart own the farm, and we're not really sure where we're going. We're open one day a week. We're just trying to figure it out and, work with you guys to help make sure we cross all our boxes along the way. But it's more just about creating a space, and arts fall into that too, whether that's music and just a really cool curated space, and an experience for people when they come to West Hampton.
Do you remember Hanson's house?
Yeah. Thing,
Such a fun spot.
You can get an entertainment permit in the HC, but that's indoor. And that's an annual, whatever.
Oh, it's an annual?
Music is at 4 PM to 10 PM.
Like a sign off from our neighbors. Like we've got a great relationship with all our neighbors. Maybe that would be something that could help us.
It would have to be addressed in the code.
Yeah.
I mean, we appreciate what you're trying to do.
How
It's very-
about the fact that when we owned the property, we've owned the property for 50 years, we were pre-existing, and you guys have changed it from B1 when we purchased it in 76 to. Does that have any?
I don't know, maybe if there was music before, but
You have to have pre-existing use
Thing.
going on the whole time.
we did put it out to the public to change that portion of the street.
Yeah, that didn't go well. We actually tried to,
We did try to change it. They
tried to change it back, but the most of the street was not key to it. I think they misunderstood.
Yeah, but
They were picturing something way different than what we were looking to do.
But the problem is when you change the view on the potential of what could happen. Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't mean that we couldn't put that forward to the public again to see what kind of feedback, because things change.
But right now it wouldn't be permitted at all.
Outdoor music
It wouldn't be
anyway,
allowed.
it ends October 30th, but we have other business so it would, this year is kind of moot anyway, but if it's something the board wants to address, there's plenty of time for next season.
And then what about the tables and chairs outdoors? That's okay in the HC?
Yes.
But they still have to get the
The
other.
only caveat being is tying it into this food use that we're not quite permitted yet because we're a health department. Again,
So this is just gonna, really, it's gonna stay pending until they get.
maybe next season.
What's Eckerd's? B1? It's not HC, it's on the other side of the
I
street.
believe it's-
I mean, I suppose we could go forward with the public hearing at the November meeting and make any determination subject to the receipt of the health department permit. Isn't that what the planning board's doing now anyway?
See what we
Yeah,
can.
because the tables can only be out till the 15th of November anyway, after, the November 2nd, we give them 13 days for the tables outside, so.
Better off, again, the season's basically over. You're better off leaving it open and not giving them approval till next year when, and this way you're not having to renew it again next year.
They have to submit another application?
No, that's, I'm suggesting the opposite. If you approve it this November, they have to reapply.
File again. So
Yeah.
just leave this one open.
Maybe something changes with the zoning.
Outdoor display sales, that should be ready to be. Correct.
Just one portion of the application.
Right, so we'll move forward with the, outdoor sales display. It's November, so that'll be, and then we'll hold the application so you don't have to reapply again, next spring. We'll see where we are. Hopefully you'll have the health department by then.
Thanks for working on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is exactly what you said. I feel the same way. I feel like it's a really cool idea.
It's cool. Gotta make sure.
We just gotta get our ducks in a row.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy endeavor.
No. My bicycles.
It would have been a lot easier.
People do miss the bike shows. Thanks for coming in. The next item on the agenda is a presentation of a request from the Mallet. We're calling it
The West Hampton Mallet.
West Hampton Mallet. Randy Cardo,
Randy
XO.
Pardo, this is Kelso Sutton. We're here after the West Hampton Mile Club, Croquet Club. We're seeking a public-private recreational partnership, to build 2 courts on the east side of the restrooms at the Village Marina. Have any of you seen the overlay that we had?
I haven't.
So, West Hampton Mile Club,
You can have it on a thumb drive and put it on to television. But.
have it by email, but that would be. West Ham Mallet Club's been in existence operating at Cox Field, Howard Cox's property on Seafield Lane. We were notified by Mr. Cox this year that next year will be our last year. Just he's, he's kind of redeveloping his property and landscaping and whatnot. So we have an active club with 95 members that are croquet enthusiasts, and we're looking for a property somewhere local that we could continue. It seemed like the marina property would be ideal, and what we would be looking to do would be to install 2 synthetic lawns. The reason for synthetic, it's not, it's not affected by saltwater intrusion. It doesn't require any chemicals or fertilizers, irrigation. The upfront cost would be a little bit more, which we would bear. But then the maintenance would be minimal, which would allow us to then have lower dues. It'd be open to anyone who would want to join. There needs to be some structure and not just a public park, if you will, because of the equipment needed. Speaking of equipment, we would need just a dock box to put the balls, the wickets, and other equipment. As I said, we would bear the cost for construction, and then we would have some sort of a corporate structure approved by you to manage the property.
Because those courts have to get mowed several
No,
times
this
a
would be
week,
synthetic.
right? No, what I mean, that's why you're going for the synthetic.
Yeah, and the geese, there's a lot of reasons why.
The geese don't like it.
What?
The geese don't like it evidently.
Oh, that's another good reason then.
Yeah, but our maintenance costs
We
are
have a
about,
lot of geese.
and our maintenance costs are about $35,000 a year for 3 courts at Cox Field. So, and the construction costs would be significantly more, having to do irrigation and seeding. So, we thought synthetic would be a good direction to go. There are several lawns in the country that are synthetic for various reasons, climate being one of them.
A lot of
We have a
flooding
small
down there.
handout that we'll get everybody afterwards of it. It's just 3 pages. It sort of talks about, we've talked with Ralph and Maria about the other clubs around the country. This is not, we're not reinventing the wheel. This has been done several other places. So there are a lot of models for us to follow.
I see that, there's a note about existing sanitary to be modified as necessary.
You'll see we strategically located these 2. These sanitary pools are here. There are 2 under the court, one in particular.
I have, this is flashing light of opportunity there in terms of with a partnership with us that we might be able to qualify for some CPF water quality, the 20% allocation for water quality improvement to actually maybe upgrade this. So it's no cost to the village, cost to your organization. Whatever.
And that's kind of my profession on the side.
Yeah.
So my experience is that the separation of groundwater there would be challenging.
Yeah.
They do have, gravelous, leaching fields that are available, but that requires usually a pump system to get it into it.
Yeah, we've back in, I don't know how long ago it was, you and I started talking with Scott and Horowitz about opportunities there for all types of things pumped out through the boats and just ways to handle sanitary here with our bathroom and the boats. And, we just started thinking creatively about, moving stuff around, pumping, because, this area gets pretty inundated, so not much separation.
I would think eventually the village will have to do something with that sanitary system.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So this could be our opportunity to tap into the CPF money all at once doing the project. So something we might want to think about. Want to talk to Jennifer about it.
Well, so you're saying you'd have to move these existing septic, you might likely will have to move it over to the other
I'm
area?
not sure that, I'm not sure the health department would allow us to touch that. I think there's one pool in particular that would be under a court, with a synthetic court, it could be, pulled back and serviced. I spoke to Mike Lewinsky, is he the guy?
Yes, yeah.
I spoke to him, and he said they service them twice a year. Pre-season, postseason.
Speak to that too, what
Yeah.
is the situation?
Back
Three are all just leaching fields. The first two are the, septic tanks, the holding tanks. So to say we don't need access is, but again, with the synthetic field, it could be pulled up, but it could also be pulled down from another tank because it leaches out to level. So,
But do we have to go in and pump those?
we
So
do.
how-
When you pump one, you're pumping them all basically because they're all connected together. So, with some variation to that.
And we
As
would,
long as one's accessible, it wouldn't interfere with.
I'd have to double check again, but these two are the septic, and then these four should be leaching.
Bleaching field. We might not, might be able to get it without having to do too much.
The groundwater there is insanely high.
We would ask the health department if we could relocate that one pool,
Right.
kind of in place in kind, and see what there's no risk in asking, really. We did a little research. We're exempted from the DEC here because of the functional bulkhead pre-1973, I think.
Right. Does that include any alterations? I don't know.
We're on the other side of the driveway. I believe we're exempt, not that, we'd probably have to get a, letter of non-jurisdiction.
Why are you with them?
It's more than 100 linear feet of intact bulkhead prior to 1977, August 77.
Talk to Jennifer about what is that?
Just if we need to do anything with the sanitary system, move pools or upgrade anything or whatever we might need to do could qualify us for CPF grant money.
Randy, that's his profession, so he knows. If he knows more about that, then we're gonna know about that.
Yeah,
I'm very aware. I know he does.
We'd be happy to do that as part of this project. I mean, we would like to elevate it a little bit as part of the leveling process. The courts are typically perfectly flat and rely on percolation for drainage. So I think what we're kind of looking for here is kind of conceptually, do you like the idea and I like it? Can we potentially move forward to the next step and talk about some of the finer details?
I like it.
How would it work with the membership? You have your own member.
We're a private club now, there's case studies around the country of about 20 public-private, partnerships in public parks. Almost all, I think all of them have natural grass. This would, because it's synthetic, once the construction costs are done, would be really minimal. So we could offer memberships pretty inexpensive. We spoke to Ralph and Maria, you about outreach to the community and have potentially, free clinics on a Saturday morning or something to invite the public to come. Most people don't know what croquet is, except for they did it when they were kids in their backyard. It's a pretty sophisticated game. And you just don't see it because unless you're a member of a private club, you're not really exposed to it. And I mean, for me, I'm trying to be a part of the exposure around the country, and I'm pretty active.
But you would see it in Central Park. It's right there. There's two courts in the middle of Central Park.
I think it'd be a lot of traction down to the Village Marina, which is pretty, a lot of people don't really know about it, don't go down that way, don't really head that way.
Yeah, it would create more
Create
activity
more
there, but
activity there, people coming by boat,
What can people-
bring a little more
It's
excitement.
attractive as well.
Well, Howard would tell you that he gets a lot of visitors that he doesn't care for coming down his driveway because they want to see what all these people are doing in white.
Yeah.
And this has been ongoing for years on Seafield, so.
but if your members aren't using it on a particular day and there's people from the public who want to just play in non-white clothes, is that allowed? What's gonna happen?
The thing is because it's public space, the wickets, which are fairly expensive, they'd have to be removed and replaced when people use it. And that's the reason for the dock box. There's balls and equipment that need to be used, so.
People would have to bring their own.
Yeah, and it wouldn't work because they have, in a synthetic court, there's an actual slot that the wicket goes down into with a rubber grommet. So you'd kind of have to know what you're doing. But we would, and again, this is early in the conceptual stage, but we would attempt to have public outreach and have, clinics where people could come look at the game. And
I think the public part of this is an important aspect, and the private, having exclusive use for certain occasions, you would need that to make it make sense for yourself. But I think in kind, we need some public use at some point, and that would be some kind of a legal arrangement that we'd have to agree on.
Yeah, that was my understanding, that it
I
was
think
available to the
That's what we'd
public.
have to understand more, this idea of a public-private partnership. It is public space, so you can't just give public space away, private use. So you'd have to strike whatever the right legal balance is between that, where the public has the access that not just legally is required, but should be required for public space.
But generally speaking, as you explained to me, your membership usually plays Saturday mornings.
They play 7 days a week.
We actually have not unlike other clubs, we have a reservation system that works quite well. And we've done that so that people that want to play, and especially people that drive from as far as Nassau County, which is pretty common for us, that when they arrive, they know they have a court and they can play. And people like it better because then they can plan. There are a lot of people, or older population, that like to come out, play at 11 o'clock, go have lunch, and they don't want to come out and find out that they don't have a court. So it's a very equitable system, that they're only allowed to play so many times a week, and we monitor it. And we found it to be, we thought at first it was going to be controversial, and it's actually worked out very well, and people really like it much better. And we've also been able to find out when they really play and when they don't play. So,
You could have public-private hours, like the
Right.
skating rink.
So the reservation system could work for your private club members and then have a block of times available for public.
well, that's what we do already. We do blocks of time for big group events or whatever it is, or we have a lot of activities that are sort of demanded by the membership. They like us to organize, play, scheduled play, where somebody doesn't know how to play, there's an instructor there to help them. So as with all things, most people like, to be organized for them, so they just come and enjoy it. And so we've done a lot of that over the years, learning after all these years, 6 decades, we sort of figured out what they like.
But I think also realistically, we could introduce it to the public, whether it be Saturday morning, free clinics. But if they thought they liked it and wanted to play, then they really have to join a club. And it could be $150 a year. That's the beauty of having a synthetic lawn, because the maintenance is minimal. But there would have to be, I think to use it on a regular basis, it'd have to be members. So there's some accountability to bringing the equipment back and knowing, how to set it up and how to break it down. As opposed to just saying, okay, public hours on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 2 hours a day or something. Because they wouldn't have the equipment, they wouldn't know how to use it. That's just.
Well, some people, they do sell in the sporting goods stores a bag of croquet mallets. I'm sure they're not up to what you all use, but.
Yeah, the mallets are no problem, and we would have extra mallets. We would own extra mallets to use when we have people come and be exposed to the game. It's the wickets that would have to go down in the slots, I think. So we can tell you how it's done in other public parks or public spaces and what the arrangements are. We have it.
Yeah, we have the information. I mean, obviously, we'd have to ask other clubs. We've talked about, I mentioned Ralph, like the city of Denver is a great model for this. I'd have to ask them for their permission from their legal people to share in their contract, but we have it. They've given it to us, but we would never share it without, official permission. So we did do a very draft through a term sheet of what some kind of agreement could sort of look like and what is very common amongst other clubs that have done this. As I've said, we're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, and it would be nice to see, what idea you have about the timing of it all, when is the club gonna be having it reserved in the public time, people available? If we could get a sense of that, because it could have been our misunderstanding, but I thought it was more of a, you have your times when your people are there and then the other times it's open to the public, and it doesn't sound like that's what is really being.
It could be that just somebody would have to be there to make sure the wickets are in, and then they come out so that they don't go walking. I mean, it's just a minor of, it could
Somebody
be
could bring their own wickets, but you're saying it's a particular kind that only fit into
It
the.
is, yeah.
Because it's synthetic cord, it's a
Yeah,
slightly
and
different nuance.
As I say, it's not kind of what everyone envisions as croquet. It's like a golf green type nap to the lawn. It's yes, not just put a couple wire wickets.
Ideas.
Or you go back to the grass and then anybody can play and then it has to get mowed, right? That's what you
Right.
do.
It's expensive. And we have the other issues with it, fertilizers and the inundation and the geese and
That is a good way to go with that, especially being so close to the waterway down there.
The concept is there. It's just a matter of we get over the hurdles of getting everything.
And we're willing to, whatever reasonable lease would be, let's say, whether it be 3 years or 5 years, and then if it didn't work, wouldn't want to do it 1 year because the construction cost could be $75,000.
Right.
To build it, so we'd like to have something we could give it a try for a few.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think the
And
the
the
legal
other,
portion of the thing that's got,
the other aspect that you mentioned is that once a year have a international tournament. And that's the first weekend in August.
Well, we typically at Cox's, we have an invitational, which people from around the country come, it's about 50 people or so come to compete.
Wanted to erect tents and have those kinds of things for that, then we'd go through the tent application process for that special event when you needed more.
And that's not as important to us. I mean, we do it because it's social. It's a small community around the country, maybe 3,000
you
active
do it
players.
here, you're gonna get more general public getting interested in it.
They'll be
If you do
inquisitive.
it there, because over there, everybody thinks it's just private and nobody's allowed there. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been around Cox's since I've been a little kid.
Generally, that's what happens in other areas, other communities. Go back to Denver, good example. It's boomed because people saw it and they didn't know what it was. And then they watched it, they wanted to get involved. So, it does.
This is gonna be more of that.
Right.
Majority of the general public didn't know down Seafield Lane, don't know,
Oh, but they'll stop and look. They'll be fascinated. We found, once they see it,
And I see you have bocce, it's on the agenda today. Okay, well, there you go. So, it would complement the bocce.
One of my concerns was, the parking for this, because it seems like you guys are gonna utilize this pretty much the same times that the marina is utilized as well. And, that was just some of my concerns, that it is a heavily used marina during the summer, during the same times you guys use it.
I'd have to use street parking.
How many people show up at a time for games?
Right, so we're proposing 2 courts. The most you'd have would be, I think, like 8.
we have 8 people, so 8 cars.
If they,
I mean, it's, the only time you get more people is if you had some special tournament.
That's what I was
Yeah.
alluding to.
including the special tournament, that's,
Just because we do have 5Ks there throughout the year and stuff like that, we utilize that
So
area.
this, picture the synthetic lawn. So part of this partnership would be, when the wickets aren't there, if you had your 5K, set your tent up right on top of the synthetic lawns, you can't hurt that really to speak of, so it might benefit the state as well. Yeah, so do the tent state.
All right, well, if you want to take the next step, so everyone seems interested. Next
Tony,
step,
you have concerns that we might address specifically?
I gotta understand the idea of the public-private
Okay.
division because it's public property and there's legal requirements that we have. Even if the board says absolutely want to do it, allow you as a private group to have essentially a private facility, there's a point where we can't allow you to do it. So I gotta understand what your term sheet is and what your, this division between what is the partnership there, what does the public get out of it, right? To make sure that it even passes that, the state, it's essentially a state law that we have to make sure that we're not crossing some line with the, state law requirements.
yeah, we can't gift public property. So perhaps the best way is to do a draft based on what you said you found in Colorado to propose. That's something we could work off of.
Maybe more applicable too, New York State, let's say Buffalo, Rochester, and New York.
Well, anything.
Already in a public forum.
I
Yeah.
think it would be
They'd
simple.
be better off using them instead of.
Sure.
Would,
Yeah, no, I'm just, that's why I mentioned it.
I think it could be similar to at least like the organizations operate out of the schools playing soccer and stuff like that. So they utilize the school soccer field on certain days, but then the fund is typically open to the public on the other days. So I think that would be a similar scenario to this.
Okay, thank you for your.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The idea is there, just get over the hurdle. Get through the wickets.
It's still in use space and not play for pay.
Yeah.
That's the key, is that it's still gotta be available to the public to
Yeah.
use. They might not know all the ins and outs of these wickets and stuff, but if they can use it, and as they do now, it's grass, then I'm okay with it, but it's gotta be able to be accessed by the public.
And you just plop down and they can put it as close or as far as they want, play a game.
People will do that. They're not all
It
professionals.
doesn't have to be precisely
No.
based and all that, so.
But they didn't say they were there every day.
No,
But let's do.
You gotta run it.
All right, well, we'll see. They'll give us something. The next item on the agenda is proposed bocce court upgrade in Glover. And Vince is here to us. Tell us about, I think we all may have a copy of the plan.
It's not very.
Marcus is here also because Marcus designed this park, and I'll just say, to be honest with everyone, this was the first project I ever did when I got elected in 2014, and it's a very special park for me. And, you know, Marcus helped lay it out, and it's so peaceful and charming right now with the fountain, and but of course, you know, we want to have more activity and recreation for people. So we're open to an idea, but just, and there is the Glover's Park Health portion that we also own that's available for use, but I don't know if you didn't care for that. So this is your proposal that we have in front of us.
Very simple. I play there every Sunday, usually every Sunday morning around 8:30 in the summertime. People that I built houses for, believe it or not, I remain friends with them. How that happened. And we have a good time, except at the court, it's just not good. It's got a hump, you throw the ball, it goes this way. Uncomfortable to play a real game on. And a friend of mine was a bartender behind Central. And she was, why don't you come watch the game? They had two beautiful courts. I mean, really exceptional courts. Everybody enjoyed it. And by having two courts, everybody played for, everybody got a chance to play. And they have a league and they really do it in a professional way. They had a grounds guy that, wipes it every once in a while, scoreboard. We don't have to get that crazy because what they're using is a bunch, like a tennis court. Could be done that way, but I think there'll be more maintenance if we do it that way. What I'm suggesting is build more of a professional court, and the top layer would be crushed oyster shells, which is the right way to do it. You get good drainage.
We do have shells.
Stuck around.
You buy them in bags, I understand. And Knesky is going to provide all the drainage and probably the oyster shells. And I got the contractors lined up, ready to go. We've got the old one. I got the concrete guy, either MSG or the other guy's name. These are contractors that have been working for and happy to get in there and do it at no charge. And what we're going to do is build concrete curbs. If you've been to Central, it's like a regular sidewalk curb. And we're gonna keep the same size, build it right next to it, and in between the two, we're gonna keep a 4 or 5 foot space, I think it's 5 feet on there. And I'd like to put 5 lights that drape over the courts, so if it got dark, you'd play. I wouldn't play at night, I'd still play on Sunday morning, for some reason, people like to get up early, that I built for. And it'd be a real nice project. At the
Well,
end,
like you said, though, the courts at Central are beautiful, no question about it. But the reason that we went with the like the synthetic material on the court instead of crushed oyster and kind of other surfaces, because those other surfaces require maintenance, and we don't have that kind of, at Centro, they pay people to be there to brush the courts and rake them.
Right, you don't have to do all that.
Well, it
Once
does,
in a while, you might wanna leave a rake there, to take, one big rake back and forth and you're done. It's not a regular maintenance,
we
no
leave a
weed.
rake there, and I hate to sound like a typical,
Sound like me?
someone will hit someone over the head with it, someone will steal it, it's.
Saying like a bank.
Just, people walking on the court, throwing the balls, it's gonna disturb the surface, it's gonna have to be raked. And
Well, we would rake it in the middle of a game. And if you're gonna play it the right way, if you're gonna make the right kind of court usable and less maintenance than hard true, it'll drain better, for sure. There won't be any puddles, it'll be level. And I really like to, this would be like a pet project for me. I wanna give something to this town. Been here for a long time. I don't live in West Hampton Beach, I live in West Hampton. But this has been my home for about 25
I
years.
never heard of crushed oyster court, I always thought it would be, hard true or.
Hard true is easy. That would be a problem putting hard true down. But the right foot is oyster shells. And it'd be less maintenance than hard true.
It looks a little angly here that you've drawn.
No, that's the way it is.
It is.
That's disturbing.
Yeah, existing bocce court is actually on an angle.
We can straighten that out, that's not a problem.
You think it, I used to think it was
What's the problem with the one to the south of the park? Because there's that cement block building that we're gonna take down, because it's not, you didn't do it yet.
No.
It's not, it's getting moldy inside, it's not, weather tight like it was originally, or we thought it was.
Oh, it's so quaint. You did such a great job.
I know, and now you're gonna change it.
I even say it's gonna be like the Amalfi Coast. Or better. Believe me, I know it's your pet project, I would treat it such.
Marcus, do you have any comment?
Where to start? Sounds like to me to buy a piece of property where you can have croquet and bocce. But, the park was really not designed for bocce to begin with, and it was sort of an after thought during the design process.
And it had to be angled because of that maple tree that was a special maple tree at the.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that the court is not, to the standards that it could be. To put two courts in there would require, moving trees and plants and, kind of changing the whole design of the park, so.
They're shrubs, not trees, they're boxwoods.
Right, but then you're encroaching into the, into the whole park itself. Again, I'm just, I'm one guy with one opinion and no vote. I would be totally in favor of redesigning it. We've done bocce with hard true, with bluestone shavings, which is what's there now. Oyster shells, they're all pretty much equal maintenance. Which is, if it's done properly with the right amount of drainage, it's a rake once in a while and.
I mean, it could be even a big, Centro has a lot of space in between the two courts, so they can have the tables for people to sit at. And so the other side, that isn't as magical as Glover's Park. It's just got the one statue in the middle, that one sculpture that could get moved.
It could be. I mean, there's certainly opportunity there that I would be happy to discuss with the board.
Yeah.
You think two courts could fit there?
Probably.
I haven't measured it out or anything.
Because it already got disturbed.
Once that building's removed,
Yeah, the building and then the walkway.
then you have more light there.
The walkway got messed up when the PSEG went in, and so, the work that Stephen Stanley did on the blue chip walkway is not
What would you do?
pressed anymore. Maybe we just get rid of that.
Design.
remove.
Design the back of it. Just have more open space.
Oh, we could get that path to go a little further down and get some more shrubs and chairs and tables,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Well, always was a little weird because it was angled and it wasn't made of the
It-
best
Drives me
materials.
cra- The angle, I know it had to be done, it just drives me crazy.
Why don't we get the building taken down first and measure it out and put a little design to it and
I
see
think
what.
it'll fit. I think it'll fit, but it's not, it's not the same.
We can make this part just as beautiful. Because then we'll have a little sculpture garden, right, Ralph? That's what you always wanted. Well, let us look at it. I know you're thinking, I want to do this right now. I know some
Outside with the
DPW.
machines. Funny story, when I built my house, with, uh, Randy Cottle actually dug the foundation. And when I was at the closing, because I was really in a rush to build it, I built it in 4.5 months. Because I was living in the city, I knew I had to go back and forth, I had a second house out here. So they asked me to close it, when do you think you'll be starting? I says, by the way, when I got back to my property, imagine if I didn't close, the hole was already dug. But that's how you built a house in 4.5 months. Needed a place to move into for the summer. I rented my other house. I didn't want to go back and forth from Manhattan. I could do this in a few weeks. 3 weeks, I'm done.
Excellent. Well, a couple DPW guys that would love to have a bulldozer and that building.
For sure.
Well,
Hey, you can have it. You can drive right through it.
For me, they
You
use
two
the heavy
get that thing
equipment.
down,
Really? Those are in a dumpster.
that's it, we don't, shouldn't be no hold up.
That's, it's not, there's one electrical line we'll disconnect.
What about the chamber stuff? Do they have stuff in
They
there?
moved almost 90% of their stuff already. So
We usually put the tables and chairs in there too.
we've been keeping them up at the shop. They're in disrepair in themselves. So.
If we use the other location, what would you do around the court? Would you put shrubs and statues, benches and things like that? Would you make it cozy?
Yeah, then we'd make it cozy. Then, because I
Sure.
feel like it's just lacking a little. It's got the nice perimeter planting, but we never planted, along the walkways and it just feels different. It doesn't feel.
Great there too, right? So,
Manipulate with the core.
yeah, probably pick it up on the left side.
Look, it'd be a lot easier for me, much easier.
Yeah?
But I like a challenge. I know. Me and you all fighting over this. It's much easier to build
Dark.
nothing to rip. And, it'd be a blank slate.
We can improve around wherever the.
I promise you're gonna make it cozy. I'll go along with this, 'cause now I'm interviewing you.
This is gonna help make it cozy.
He's our cozy minister.
That's his
Big
nickname.
lovers, I could give you the same thing over that. I think it's a better spot. You have more space, there's more light.
Let's make it legit, like Centro. Maybe not that.
But Central has a couple of lights, really,
Yeah, we don't want that
it's restaurant style,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Well, Vince, what did I tell you about lighting?
I think you even,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I said, make sure you talk to Marcus about lighting.
You called me, I spoke to you on the phone, I sent you the plan of the park.
oh, that's right, you said that to me.
A couple months ago, month ago.
Well, we did, I go off on that.
So, right, we don't want a carnival there. People live there, but this sounds like a nice. So, what's the next step then, Matt? You
Cozy it up for next summer,
See it up.
cozy it up by next summer.
Yeah, why can't we do it?
No,
Let's go, what are we waiting for?
yeah, definitely.
Go. Get the building down. Can you get that down tomorrow?
Well, David Fox.
There's not much holding it together now. That's gonna take much enough.
Could we get David there and somebody to lay out the court?
Sure.
And this week,
The building doesn't have to be gone to lay it out. All we need is probably have a survey in the box.
You and Marcus and David.
Paul David was, using right now, I'm using on a few jobs, I wanna burn them out.
You got it. I'll ask him right now.
This is good teamwork. Yeah, right, thank you.
And at the end of it all, we'll put a plaque up dedicated to my wife, my late wife.
that, right? That would be so special. Really meaningful.
All right?
Thank you for bringing these to us and
Talk about.
recreation. No, we will not.
We'll wait till you get to
Moving
this.
right on. Order in the court. So the next item on the agenda is the Historical Society, Rogers Bridge, freezes, and West Features here. West, people might not even know what a freeze is, so could you explain where we got them and what's going on with them? And there is, everybody has something in their packet.
Most of you folks were around when the original Beach Lane or Rogers Bridge was built, before the county knocked it down and put up what is there now. If you look closely, there are freezes around this tower. And when they took it down, they actually saved the freezes.
They're made of concrete?
Yes, they are. And they were designed by a gentleman, Commander Hampton Erickson, who was a naval officer, also a local artist. Anyway, to make a long story short, the Historical Society got possession of these. We had to go to the county and get I guess they passed some kind of a bill so that we have them.
They replaced them with replicas, didn't they, at the
Yeah.
bridge?
Yep. Now what they did is they coated some of them with an epoxy. And that was so they could make a mold and then do it again. And the new bridge has some of these freezes, the designs on it. But anyway.
What
so
are the designs?
There's 4 actual designs, and they're in varying sizes. They're all about 27 inches high. 2 of them are 24 inches wide. One of them is waterfowl in flight. Another one commemorates the life-saving service that used to be here. That, for you that don't know, there used to be the U.S. Revenue Service and the U.S. Life-Saving Service. They amalgamated it and formed the U.S. Coast Guard. Okay, so there, if you go down to Tiana, you'll see one of the old stations there. You'll see one along with the residents. There used to be one at Hotel, which is no longer there. But anyway, so one of the freezes commemorates them. One's about 24 inches wide. There's one for the whaling industry that used to be along the coast here. That's 50 inches wide. And there's one that depicts Native Americans, the Indians. And that, I believe, is 56 inches wide. At present, we have 2 of the small ones installed over at the Historical Society. And we have 4 more that we're looking to find a place to display. For you that don't know, over the past year, the Historical Society and the West Hampton Garden Club have been working together to kind of improve the appearance of our campus over there. And our first phase was in back of the Tuttle House. That's the white building on the property. We have a pollinator garden that is reminiscent with plants that you would have found in the 1840s, local plants. And for those who've seen it, in my opinion, it turned out really nice, and it's doing what it's supposed to do.
It really is beautiful, and it was a good partnership with the garden club that you set up.
Yeah, and there are more phases that we want to do with that. And along those lines, we were trying to figure out what we would do with the rest of the freezes. The garden club came up with 3 suggestions. 2 of them are on our campus. One would be on the north side of the Tuttle House Museum. One would also be on the north side, but bordering the property or parking lot on the other side of which is George Vickers. And then they came up with an idea for an off-campus location. And that would be on Beach Lane. The second bench back from the bridge on the north side, west side of the road. There's a bench there, looks out on the marsh. There's, a nest for egrets. And, driving past there, a lot of people use that, they go down there and they read or, text, whatever.
How many are we talking about? You said already, but you said you're keeping 2 for sure already.
Yeah, we have 2, and, if you folks don't like the Beach Lane location, then we would have to find places for just the 2 that we don't have, the Whaling and the indigenous people, the Indians.
But on the photos that you sent,
Yeah, and the photos is
it
not,
looks like 8.
yeah. The photos don't actually represent the freezes because they're in a pile up at John Padika's house. And to get them, just to take a photograph would be.
They can Photoshop some stuff in there.
Yeah.
More than when.
Yeah, what you would see is, if we did it down on Beach Lake, it would just be 4, which would be the 50-inch one of the whales, the 56 of the Indians, and then we might, the other small ones there. We don't want to duplicate anything on our property because, it's pretty small to begin with. But anyway, the garden club recommended the off-site location. In addition to being vice president of this society, I'm also chairman of Buildings and Grounds. Buildings and Grounds recommended the off-campus location. And then 2 weeks ago, we had our monthly meeting, and the vast majority of the board voted in favor of the beach lane. That doesn't fly here, then we gotta, think of something else.
I think it's a cool aspect of it and being utilized as they used to be up on the bridge there anyway, so I mean, it's cool. You wanna sit there, you look over the marsh, you see the waterway, so it's a neat idea.
It's close to where they originally were. You're gonna get a lot of visibility there. And, it seems like a pretty good location to me anyway.
And we could put a little sign plaque
We would
for it to explain.
We've got signs that are gonna be ready by Friday, the ones that are on the, the historical society property there, actually, your property that we lease from you. Yeah, and, there would be a sign down there explaining what they are. There would be, like the 2 that are on our property now. One is original, one has coating on it. And the sign, explains why they're different, using it for molds for the new bridge and,
Would you plan to put them on pads or
yeah, what we have up there now, and we would, well, depending upon, what you guys, and hopefully Matt's gonna help us out with this a little bit.
My help tonight.
We have them on bluestone and they're set there and then it's like a 4x4 back of it with a stainless steel strap that goes attached to the 4x4 and then goes over the top and.
It's my way in, so I wanna make sure that no one can stand up and topple over or something.
That's the bridge idea is nice, I'm just worried about, but they need to be secured up there.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna be live on.
Kids would, we would never do anything like that when we were young.
They'd be in the water.
What's your sign look like now for the 2 you have? Is it on like a white post?
It'd be on a white post, it's, I believe, 24 by 24.
Similar to what's depicted in the picture.
It's very similar to what, the signs that are, on the, for other things that are on the property. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of the completed sign, but I can get it.
Concerns about putting the 4 there?
I mean, as long as they're secured, we can figure out a way to secure them.
One of the photos shows like some on one side and some on the other, and the other shows, all of them on one side. If you have something, if we were gonna do all 4 line at, the Historical Society, just to give you an idea. You could put one of the big ones and one of the small ones on either side. uh, Pass them down. That kind of was what we were thinking about. They're all the same. You can take one and sit down.
Matt, we need to mark out our rate in there. Do we know how far it goes?
And then for what, the maintenance?
Yeah, like how far.
Sure. Yeah, just take a look at we do have a right of way, obviously, but then beyond that, I don't know who owns.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at this and we probably just need to be cognizant of where our property is.
Bridge, the county owns the bridge.
Well, they also own the freezes too, when they put them in.
We can fix it. So we just need to measure that off, stake it out, that we make sure we stand.
And I think it seems like everybody likes the idea. It's almost like they're coming back home.
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
putting them back in this location. And then it's educational too.
Oh, yeah.
Historic, so it's really a good idea.
What we have at the Historical Society, and then vice versa. And
Might get some visitors at the Historical Society after people walk by and read the sign at the bridge.
Now, are they being donated to the village by the Historical Society, or are they going to remain the property of the Historical Society on loan to the village?
whichever way you want.
Let's hope.
I mean, that's just something.
Detail.
I don't think that makes, it's not gonna make a difference as to whether you can put it up.
They own it now. You own it, right? It was given to you by the county.
Yeah, by the county.
The resolution is probably granting it to the Historical Society.
Yeah, so it's easy if they just put them up and put them out there display and that's it.
Yeah.
Don't, why reinvent the wheel? We need to make it fun.
Make a federal case out of it.
Something in partnership between the village and, the Historical Society.
And that's just a detail to get worked out. I mean, still some detail that's,
Yeah,
minor, but no, the conceptual idea of putting everything,
It's
going
nice.
to different locations is fine.
I think it's terrific, actually.
Yeah.
So,
We'll write
we
something.
can work out small details as to getting Matt to help you out, put them in place. Okay. In general, Matt does everything.
Put Matt to work.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
City members.
Thanks.
To be continued, get you something, a draft of something.
Let's see, next Friday, we've got the second grade coming into the Historical Society to see our current exhibit there, which has to do with the waterways and the bays.
Oh, excellent.
Unfortunately, we're only open one day a week on Saturday, but
Great.
come in and see it.
That's nice to have the school children come too. I think that could open you up to some grant money too, right? If you show that you're using it for educational purposes.
Yeah, we're working on a project that hopefully will get us, got to change our name from the Historical Society, West Hampton Historical Society, to the Greater West Hampton Historical Museum. And if we're actually called a museum, we got to go through the state to do this. Then then we can actually get on a ballot and, for the budget. like the library is.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Now, because we're kind of operating on a shoestring, but anyway. Well, I thank you all for your time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Wes.
Oh, and just so you know, we're gonna hopefully have a little display for the windmill at the November 2nd meeting. The architects came in yesterday and they're ready to finalize the bid specs so we can go out to bid. And so they're gonna present, they have this 3D modeling and they're gonna show us what it looks like and it's really nice. So, yeah, can't wait to get that done. Tell everybody that too, to come November 2nd and see the show.
Right, thank you.
All right, so far, here we go. This one. Town of Southampton Highway Department Storage Park. So this is something I'm not sure I can get around because it came in recently, but Brad, can tell us a little about it.
Yeah, so Southampton Town Highway Department, to better protect a lot of their new expensive equipment and vehicles. They're putting up these, art, buildings. It's, pretty much like an engineer, a prefab engineered truss that goes on a semicircle. And it gravity blocks on the ground. And then so they could just pull all sorts of trucks and implements underneath it and get out of the weather. So they put up a couple in Hampton's Bays. I guess they're trying to fit them in all their yards. And we have a yard on Riverhead Road that they would like to throw up one of these, I guess, garages for like more parking. People. It's a lot more cost effective than the huge garage they would have to build for some of this equipment.
One of their highway barns is right on Old Riverhead Road. You probably saw it. It used to have that blue thing
Yeah, that big
that we
blue
could,
building.
guys would take down and they put the black fence and then wanted them to put some plantings in front, but they said that would block the view from trying to pull in and out. But at least that blue building's gone, but this would go in the back corner. And they just want to protect their vehicles from the elements and be ready to go in a storm, to dig out some new equipment. So you can either, when it's another municipality, there's a way to accommodate them without having to go through.
I'm kind of surprised they even asked.
Right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the right thing to do. I'm just, a lot of time.
Well, I think that they really should do is just file for a building permit and waive the fee and start building.
So the issue with the building permit and our normal processes are, we have issues of non-conforming use, we have issues of setback, we have the issue that it's not our code specifically, we don't want tent-like structures, canvas structures in our code, so there's a lot of issues within our particular code that would normally need to be addressed, including zoning board, planning board, what have you, so the fact that they asked, I thought, because this building doesn't really, it's not changing their current use, it's not enabling them to create more traffic or bring in extra people, it has no sanitary demand, it doesn't cause noise or, the one question is the look of it. Other than that, there's not a lot of impact to this, so.
We ask them to make something a little bit more pleasant over the rail tracks. It looks so dreary. It's a reflection of usually going to West Hampton Beach. You're looking at this ugly structure with the black fence and everything else looks hideous.
Right. So that's why we thought it best we could talk about it with this group, because as the trustees, it's your code, you give the power to the planning board. There is a process, the process for municipalities, applying for permits or different land use within other municipalities where you can exempt them from certain portions or all of your zoning. So fire districts this commonly comes up. Our district has its own tax and they have their own buildings, but they do have to come to the village to get a permit. And then we exempt them out of certain things like height setbacks and street setbacks and things.
Well, the zoning setbacks are exempt from.
It's called the Monroe test, right? And Tony, you can explain how it's a balancing between what we need and what they need.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a blanket exception where one government just can ignore the zoning, the regulations of, you guys are called the host government, right? So they're the encroaching government, you're the host government. The encroaching government isn't automatically exempt from the requirements of the host government. But what the courts have done is come up with this balancing test so that it allows, it's always a little bit tricky as to who gets to make the decision, but it allows a kind of balancing between the encroaching government's interest in doing what they're doing versus the host government's interest in enforcing its codes as against the encroaching government. So it's a case by case basis thing. And it sometimes depends on what exactly they're looking for a waiver from. So in other contexts, like Brad was saying, like the fire district, for example, they may be exempt from certain things that are integral to their having a firehouse, for example. But other things that are less integral to their operation, it's appropriate to have them go before the planning board and make sure that, traffic impacts are met, or the signage is a good example recently where they were looking to put up a sign that was flatly in contradiction of our code, and the planning board determined that they were not exempt under the category. Zoning board did, yes, you're right.
So for example, that like the rec center that the town owns now, that they're gonna create, we didn't exempt them from having to go to the planning board. They're going through that process, but what the highway superintendent in the town said about this is that, well, it's not accessible to the public. So it's just used for their Department of Public Works. And it's, they're trying to get it done before the winter months so they can protect the vehicles. So they're asking that we determine it rather than making them go through planning and zoning.
Is this considered integral operation?
You get to consider a lot of factors like, not just whether it's integral to their operation, but what is the nature of their operation and how integral is that? And when you think about the way department, there's at least an argument that they could make that there are a few things more integral to government operations than maintenance of the highway system. The highway superintendent of the town is an elected official, he's not even beholden to working under the town board. He is a separate elected official who's in charge of, by state law, in charge of certain operations. So that he would certainly have an argument that the things he does that are integral to maintaining the highways is an essential function. So that's the kind of stuff you could balance where, asking him to go through a site plan process or variance process with the zoning board that could take many months just to put up equipment to protect his equipment that's integral to the maintenance of the highways may be an unreasonable ask of the host government. Whereas for a rec center, it's a little bit of a different balancing. And to ask them to go through, a planning board review isn't exactly the same of an imposition on them in that context as it might be in the context of a highway, an essential highway function. So
Do you think we could say, okay, but we want you to plant low shrubs in front
Just
of
to
the
make it
black
look more
thread?
attractive, coming over this back.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna suggest. I mean, obviously, you're not gonna tell them they can't do it or make them go through 6 months of planning. But why not have them plant some, even deciduous trees on the inside if they have an issue? I mean, of course, Charlie's gonna say, well, the trucks are parked there and blah, blah. They have plenty of parking. They could put, 5 or 6 London plane or Zalcova or a combination of trees that would eventually grow up and screen that whole area.
Try to make it a little bit more attractive.
Lipstick it up a little bit.
You got a bunch of equipment.
You're saying,
Well, they've already said they don't want anything in the front, which I completely disagree with. They could have moved the fence back and planted a purple
or you
fence.
could,
right, but time out for a second though, because we're kind of getting beyond the initial question, which is should they or shouldn't they be exempt from? If they're not exempt, then all these things come up as part of a planning process.
Yeah.
But then you have to say they're not exempt from the site plan process. and they should go to the planning board and hash out a landscape plan. That's what they're asking to essentially accept from, because go through that process, they're not gonna get this structure up in time for what they need. So that, you first have to answer the question whether they're exempt or not. Because you can't just say, we'll give you an exemption, but only if you give us these plantings. It doesn't really
Can't
work.
put a caveat on
It
it.
doesn't really work that way. It's not a, that's sort of not the question in front of you. So
It's either.
I wanna stick to like, let's stick to what you can ask, there's no harm in saying, listen, we do find that you're exempt, but we want you to consider our requests also, which would be for you to add this to whatever, X, Y, and Z, take that into account.
We wouldn't
As-
put it.
But that's more of that's comedy between government, they're asking you for something, you're asking them for something. But the only way to impose it on them is to say you're not exempt from our site plan requirements and then send it to the planning board and see if the planning board's gonna impose
I
it.
don't think that's the right thing to do though.
Yeah, I don't
Which,
think any.
non-exempt them.
Yeah.
They should be exempt
I
for this
For
particular
this
project.
for this project, yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
maybe,
it's highway equipment that's gotta be covered.
no, I got it.
I
Can we
mean,
just
you know,
ask
depending on
them,
our
can they help
highway-
us out with a little bit of look?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
does
that's-
that caveat?
Yeah, I think look, government can ask each other you work together all the time, you and the town. So there's no harm in saying, we respect that, and if you do choose to give them the exemption, give them the exemption. Say, we would ask, as a courtesy for you to consider including these things in your yard, and we would be happy to talk to you about the specific, whatever.
But you wouldn't put it
But don't,
in the resolution.
it shouldn't be conditioned on it, because the only way for you to condition on it is to say they're not exempt.
Yeah.
To send them to the planning board. This board doesn't even really have that power to impose those conditions on it anyway.
I don't think we would stand up and vote on that.
So is that type of thing we would,
I'm not gonna say anything out loud, but see my head.
it seems like everybody's in agreement on that. So is that the kind of thing we can do a resolution at the November meeting?
I think that would be
Does
the,
it
for
need
this board,
a public hearing?
no. It would be for this board to make findings under the Monroe test, which we can help you. There are basically 8 factors that the state law says you should look at. The ultimate question is, does your interest in upholding your code outweigh their interest in the exemption, essentially, what they need to do? And so I think the basic consensus here is that in this particular case, their interest in getting this done outweighs the village's interest. So if that's the consensus, we can draft up a resolution that would follow the county of Monroe test.
What do you need from me to get the resolution prepared? Is there basic information you don't have already?
I think so.
And I'll call Mr. McCardle and see if as a courtesy, he'll do that.
Yeah. That's the right way.
Okay, great. 2 more items left. One is an update from Ralph on the power squadron situation. Yes,
I notified you earlier by email that our squadron was interested in having an event at the arena. And initially it was thought that we couldn't accommodate them, but then I came up with a brilliant idea.
You said
Your idea is not brilliant.
Anyway, Mr. Carno and I met with them subsequently, and they love the idea. So they are proposing, they have a power squadron event annually, and fortunately, it's the last weekend in July, which is different than I perceive the Mallet Clubs, which is the first weekend in August, both happening at the arena. Traditionally speaking, they have 30 boats come into a marina and have a weekend event, put up tents, have music and food and et cetera over the weekend. and a few of the boats spend the week. So my brilliant idea was we only have 7 transient slips, so we can accommodate 7 boats. Suggested that if the other boats were willing to anchor out in Moneyball Bay and have dinghies and all that kind of stuff, and I wasn't sure that would satisfy their needs, but they seem to love the idea.
I like the idea.
They love the idea. So they're pursuing it with their membership. Apparently some of the membership said even if they can't come into our marina, they'll go to Bath and Tennis. So Bath and Tennis will benefit as well. They plan on developing a formal procedure or formal plan and putting in applications in January for a July event. It could entail as many, they said ideas blossoming, so it could entail as many as 250 people at the event on the Saturday night. With the tent, because they said a lot of their members are older, no longer have boats, but still come to the event. Hotels in Riverhead are a big attraction for those folks, so. In other words, the formal application is coming, be ready, that's all. Anything else, Mr. Prano?
Yeah, I think what it was, overall was a good idea and what they had, and it's not, a bunch of young kids coming around and having a big party.
It's an older element.
But yeah, and they would go in, they would walk, they would like it because the idea is they'd like it, they could walk into town. And they would go and utilize all the restaurants and everything, and they'd be here for a week. Some would be here for 2 or 3 days, a weekend, some would be here for a week.
The anchored boats would be here for maybe 2 or 3 days, and the boats in the slips most likely would be the ones staying for the entire week.
Will they need any permission from the town trustees to anchor off in the
We
Bay
looked into
Area?
that, and as far as we can determine, the town trustees own the bay bottom. So if we were saying they're mooring out there, then we got a problem.
They can't moor out there, but they can anchor out
But
there.
they can anchor out there. So
What's
that's
the
not a-
distinction between mooring and?
Tying up to
Is
an
it-
anchor item more.
The mooring is something that's fully mounted there, then you hook to that.
Yeah.
An anchor is just, anchor you drop over and you can pick it up in 5 minutes and leave.
So it's a temporary, the anchoring is a temporary situation.
Oh, and what's the
And then Ralph is gonna be using his boat to go back.
make some money on this?
Our pontoon paddlers, I put them in touch with pontoon paddlers. Be a boat tender as well, benefiting our local businesses as well.
I think it's a good.
Be
What I
there
was-
playing croquet while.
Am I gonna be allowed? No, we're gonna put up the temporary.
Yeah. We might have to, maybe that's one of the solutions. Maybe the village invests in them and puts them out at times when.
Brick and mortar, right?
They have to have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, public aspect.
Well, thank you both, for, interfacing with those
Sure.
people and.
Bad thing for this meeting was cut short. We were all outside there with rains open. Lord, the rain came and, all right, how's it go?
Right, great. The last item on the agenda is something Brian wanted to talk to us about. Somebody brought to his attention the need for some traffic calming measures on Library Avenue.
Yeah, first a resident on library reached out to me, brought up 2 things. One was if you are, let's say, you're on foot and you're exiting the Walgreens parking lot to cross the street to go towards the library. Not that you're supposed to park in Walgreens parking lot to go to the library,
But
but
where everybody parks to go to the library.
wherever they're going, they're crossing the street towards the library. And apparently, and it's a very similar issue to something that a few people have brought up to us in the past, is that since it's one way, you're walking out and the parked cars to the right, to the north, kind of block the view of the pedestrian, so they're not. It's like our old Main Street when we didn't have bump outs. Now the bump outs take you safely into travel lane. This, you're kind of out there. Way to remove that parking spot. I don't necessarily think that's the right thing. the right solution. I was thinking, I don't know if there's an opportunity to put like some sort of crosswalk sign. I don't know where our limitations are and what
There
we
is a pedestrian sign.
No, I mean in the road.
No, there is, well,
Yeah, there's that,
it's at the back end of the parking space. And it keeps getting, I don't know who moves it, Matt.
Yeah, no, I actually don't.
Well, so that's the second thing that the person brought up was speed humps. As we know, we have one on Main Street. I think it's worked out quite well.
Okay, the raised
the raised walkway.
Not
It's not,
one by-
it's not a speed bump, it's a raised walkway.
Yeah.
Because
There's
we
a
were
big
told
difference.
by
No, but they're also called speed humps, not bumps.
Speed.
Yeah, raised walkway. So this person had mentioned, is that a possibility on Library Anywhere? Because it is a straight shot and people do pick up speed as they head towards the marina. I think speed humps are, especially when doubled as a crosswalk as a raised walkway,
That'd be the way.
are a nice solution. I mean, I guess,
That'd be the way to
people
go.
might disagree, but
There's a
I
sign
think the
that's-
slower everyone goes anywhere in the village, the better.
Yeah, we've
Right.
talked a lot about the race.
I don't see downside to slowing people down anywhere.
One thing I wanted, when you said it, it made me think, I know I hate parallel parking, but if we made the spots parallel instead of angled, that would open up the street a lot.
I agree. I mean, it used to be parallel on the right heading
Parallel
south.
in front of the
We
library.
probably get almost the same amount of parking spots. That's maybe something else we could look into because, so in addition to the pedestrian coming out, there's also the exit from the parking lot to the south of there.
Yeah.
That has the same issue. Coming out, you creep out and look for cars because the slanted parking blocks you. So maybe we can look at that whole thing together.
Yeah. I would like to talk to Ron Hill,
Yeah.
just to get his input, because we have yet to get his input really for the Main Street Beach Lane.
Right.
Issue.
Yeah.
And the parking study, I think you
Parking study.
looking at the data now from what we collected with the drone.
That's a good idea to look at, but the other thing we should look at too is people making U-turns going to parking spots on the other side of the street, absolutely not. Safety wise, because then, but then they're on angles, so they're not parked properly, so somebody else by the back of a spot, you can't get in and out, you can't get out, so people just clearly go down the street once they make a U-turn because they see the parking spot on that
It is a
side.
lot. I mean, it's easier for me to do that when there's not as many people parked. But with the new,
That's why we have traffic circles go,
No, I know.
back the other way and make
it is harder to make the U-turns now since it's tighter, but people still do
They
it.
do it all the time.
No, we haven't done that.
They don't follow that.
Yeah. You have to make bad drivers illegal.
Okay, so we'll
There ain't nobody on the road.
but it was parallel parking before on that side and people didn't mind it. So if we could do
No.
the same thing on the other side, that would really open up the street a
Yeah,
lot.
if we
That's
just
really
get
the little-
better visibility, oncoming traffic coming out,
Yeah,
particularly the south exit and crosswalk. The north exit not as much because there's no parking, so you can see cars coming from the circle. So,
thank you for bringing that to our attention.
sure.
Okay, we did call for a special meeting tonight so we could pass some resolutions and list send out some proper notice. So just need a motion to open the special meeting. All in favor?
Right.
We have 3 resolutions. Want to take them in the order that we usually read them?
Sure. Resolved that the Board of Trustees, Board of Police Commissioners of the Village of West Hampton Beach hereby authorize the appointment of Robert E. Drappen as the hearing officer to conduct a hearing pursuant to Village Law, Section 8-804 and Civil Service Law, Section 75, involving village employee number 000154. And be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees, Board of Police Commissioners of the Village of West Hampton Beach hereby authorizes the suspension, including without pay for up to 30 days, of this employee following the service upon the employee of disciplinary charges pending the final determination of those charges.
Second,
All in favor?
resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes a family medical leave of absence for employee number 000052, effective October 17th, 2023, and ending January 9th, 2024.
Second.
That's 12 weeks, Liz. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the village clerk treasurer is hereby directed to publish and post a notice of public hearing to be held on Thursday, November 2nd, 2023, at 5 p.m. at the Village Hall, 165 Mill Road, West Hampton Beach, for a special exception application filed by BMB Enterprises LLC for an apartment above the store in the B1 district, whereby village code is not permitted for village code is not permitted on property located at 145 Main Street.
What does that say?
Yeah, it's something that's why I was having a hard time reading it.
But the B1 district. Not one that whereby.
And,
Yeah, yeah. Make my amendment to end it B1 district.
all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we do need to discuss one of the personnel issues in executive session, so I'm going to make a motion to close the meeting. Yeah. Go into executive session.
Right.
As the employee, motion request, and close. the meeting. All in favor?